Little Liechtenstein. Nope, not Luxembourg, down a bit. Yes, that small one. Liechtenstein, or the Principality of Liechtenstein, is a small, German-speaking country surrounded by Austria to the east and Switzerland to the west. It is the fourth smallest country in Europe in both land area and population. But why does this tiny country even exist, and how has it stayed independent for so long? Liechtenstein, like other microstates in Europe, has a reputation for being a rich tax haven for foreign billionaires, though it has been working to rid itself of that image. It's a semi-constitutional monarchy, being ruled by the Prince of Liechtenstein in concert with Parliament. The prince is known to be one of the most powerful monarchs in Europe, having the power to veto legislation, appoint judges, and dismiss government ministers. So how did this small, rich, and frankly unusual country come to be? Well, it all started in the 18th century in the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire is a pretty complex topic that historians still argue about today, but basically it was a political entity made up of a myriad of small, mostly German-speaking kingdoms, principalities, duchies, and the like, that were all under the authority of the Holy Roman Emperor, a position created whole cloth by the Pope in Rome. The complexities of the empire aren't quite in the purview of this video, but you do need to know the basics of its political system. So the different segments of the empire, if powerful and important enough, would be given representation in the imperial diet, or Reichstag. Think of it similar to a senate or parliament, where representatives of different regions meet to make decisions. Of course, in this case, the representatives were wealthy, land-owning nobles who earned their positions by being born into them, instead of democratically elected politicians, but whatever. Also, the Diet was not a legislative body, but more a council of advisors for the emperor. So, back to Liechtenstein. No, not the land, but the family. The House of Liechtenstein was a minor, noble family of the Holy Roman Empire. They got their name from Castle Liechtenstein, where they had resided in the Middle Ages, which is now, ironically, in Austria. Anyway, the family was rich and powerful, but they didn't have a seat in the Reichstag. You see, to earn a seat in the Diet, you had to meet two criteria. One, the emperor had to grant a seat to you, and two, the family had to enjoy what's called immediacy. What that meant was that the land they owned had to have no authority above it, save the emperor himself. The House of Liechtenstein did indeed own land, but their lands were technically in the dominions of the Habsburgs. This all gets into the confusing legal nature of feudalism and fiefdoms, but all you need to know is that the Liechtenstein family didn't meet the requirements for an imperial seat. So in the early 1700s, the head of the House of Liechtenstein, Hans Adams I, bought two small counties called Vaduz and Schellenberg from another noble family, the House of Hohenems. This purchase was all that was needed to give the Liechtenstein family a seat at the Reichstag, and in 1719, Emperor Charles VI combined Vaduz and Schellenberg into the Principality of Liechtenstein, naming it after the noble family that had recently bought it. It's important to understand that the princes of Liechtenstein bought the land for political expediency. They resided in Vienna and continued to do so after they became the rulers of Liechtenstein. In fact, the family didn't step foot in the land for about 100 years after they bought it. So that's how the country got its start, as a small principality of the Holy Roman Empire. In 1806, the Holy Roman Empire fell to French forces led by Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon then created the Confederation of the Rhine, a replacement state that was under the thumb of the Empire of France. Liechtenstein, along with many of the former imperial estates, joined this new confederation, but it fell apart 10 years later and was replaced with the new German Confederation. The German Confederation was similar to the Holy Roman Empire in that it was a loose union between the small German states, but was even less cohesive due to its having no real ruler. Also, the two main German powers, Prussia and Austria, didn't want it to become its own unified country. They had a number of conflicts to see who would control the German lands, and in 1866, Prussia won that debate in the 7 Weeks' War. Prussia then gobbled up all of the other states one by one until the German Empire was finally established in 1871. But Liechtenstein did not join the new German Empire. It stayed independent, even after the fall of the German Confederation. Why? Well, there are two main reasons. The first is simple geography. I mean, look at Europe at this time. Austria, who had not joined the new empire, had lands here above Liechtenstein. If Liechtenstein had joined Germany, it would have been a strange little enclave. The second reason was that Liechtenstein had always been closer politically and culturally with Austria. This makes sense, seeing as the princes of Liechtenstein were Austrian, and still at this point lived in Vienna. So why didn't Austria take it over? Well, honestly, there's no answer to that. Austria had no interest in annexing it, and Liechtenstein had no interest in merging with Austria. So yeah, in many ways, Liechtenstein managed to stay independent basically by laying low. It didn't fight to stay independent, it didn't even have an army, and still doesn't. During World War I, Liechtenstein turned away from Austria, who, as the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was entrenched in war, and towards Switzerland. It joined a monetary and defensive union with the country and has been close to it ever since. Internationally, Liechtenstein may as well be a part of Switzerland, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it merged with Switzerland in the future, though I wouldn't necessarily bet on it. The Principality of Liechtenstein is a fascinating vestige of Europe's feudal past, before the rise of the nation-state, when most land was ruled by small noble families or huge multi-ethnic empires. In today's world, it is a strange phenomenon, but seeing now the small nation's prosperity and success, it shows us that perhaps bigger is not always better. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment letting me know what you think. Bye!